Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Sword Art Online episode review. This one is going to be for Season 1, Episode 16, Land of the Fairies, second episode of the ALO arc. We are still on Volume 3 of the DVD sets. We are still on Volume 3 of the novels, and that's the way it's going to be for basically just... it's basically just half of the anime covers half this and vice versa, so... that's that. Before we get started, just a few things I want to cover. First of all would be these two things. These two little figurines that I got recently. These are, I think they're called, what are they called? Banpresto figures. I just randomly saw them when I was picking up the latest volume of the novel series, Progressive Volume 2. And yeah, we have Sword Art Online 2, ALO, Kirito, and Asuna. I just thought they looked really nice, you know, these kind of little chibi versions of the characters, and they've been the cheapest way to kind of get physical representations of these characters, so that's pretty cool. You can also see some of my SAO White Schwartz cards there in the background, which I will be talking about more in later videos. But yeah, the other thing I want to address is just why I didn't have any videos on the weekend. The main reason is, one, I'd planned to do I'd planned a video for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday today. The Monday video, today's video, was planned to be the latest episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I also review that for my channel, but as far as I was aware, the episode was meant to air yesterday, but apparently, just out of nowhere, it didn't air, and now no one knows when the episode's actually coming out. No one knows what they're really going for with that, so I'm very confused with Turtles. Similar situation with Star Wars Rebels, which was, I hope to review the first episode of the season, basically, first single episode of the season on Sunday, but again, I kind of found out pretty late that no, it was actually just the Siege of Lothal movie that aired, and the actual series isn't coming back until the fall. So that ruined that. Then I had planned an Avatar Top 10 video for Saturday, but I was interrupted like 8 times recording that video, and I was just like, okay, I'm giving up. I'll do that next week. So that leads me to this video coming out. So anyway, the second episode of the ALO arc. I think it's a really good second episode. And you can really see the kind of difference of this arc to the first arc, in that for the most part, Sword Art Online, that arc, it tended to skip around a lot. So while yes, there's a direct continuation in that, like, okay, this is coming after this, there's a continuity between the moments, and a few episodes were like two-parters where they fed directly into each other. With this arc, everything leads directly into each other, and it's just a really nice feeling to know that every episode is connected. It's telling a specific story that isn't going to span a massive amount of time. It's very different. And this one continues directly from the last one. We see Kirito go to Aegil and ask questions about the whole the picture of Asuna, apparently. So we get to meet Aegil again. We get Yui back in this episode. We get a little bit more development between Sugaha and Kazuto, and I think most importantly of all, we get to go into Alfheim Online and see what that game is about, plus our first meeting with Lifa. So really important episode, a lot of good explanations that we get here just about stuff, and we're in the game, the plot has really started to kick off. It's just a very effective episode 2, in my opinion. A lot of things happen here, which is positive. So the first thing, obviously, to talk about is the scene with Aegil. We start off, we get to meet Aegil in the real life, and yeah, he runs this cafe, and he ran that before the game as well. His wife kept it going. That's some of the stuff the novel actually goes into a little bit more detail on, is just like, when he goes there, you get a little bit of background information on Aegil you don't quite get in the anime. So yeah, basically this scene as it plays out is just that Aegil gives Kirito the game, explains him a little bit about what it's about, and then explains where he found out about the picture of Asuna from. that basically the picture was taken in Alfheim Online, this other game, which is a kind of more skill based rather than a level based game, and Kirito is very interested in it. And I like that from a character point of view, that as much as he should be afraid of going back into another VR MMO, he's not. He's really still excited about the virtual world. He's excited about games. He still has a passion for that. And so I thought it was a nice moment where he just almost got distracted from the important thing at hand, finding out about Asuna because he was so interested in the game, about the whole flying mechanics. How does that work? Is there muscles in your back or what? So I really like that scene just in terms of character development, and just that even in real life the two have this kind of similar kind of relationship, in that Kirito gets his information from Egil and they can help each other in that way. So it was just really nice to see him again and just know that the group that was friends in the game is also a group that's beginning to form in real life. So that was really cool, and just that kind of like bro fist moment at the end where he's just like, the battle's not over yet, you bring her back and we'll celebrate here. It was just a nice moment between the two to show that they are still friends. It wasn't just a thing in the game, that it was real. That's all I wanted to say there. We only get one scene really with Sugaha. Obviously, the whole Lifa thing we'll address as we go on, but Sugaha is just one scene. You can see that she's still kind of lost in thought about her feelings for Kazuto, and you see her kind of blush when she thinks about it too much. And I think that's the thing that I really like, is just that she realizes that she, in many ways, shouldn't be feeling this way, but she does, and she's kind of very conflicted about it. And that's one thing definitely, like, when I see a lot of people criticize this arc just for what they're going for with Kazuto and Sugaha. They almost oversell what it actually is, in that I'd say the arc is less about this relationship between cousins actually in any way happening, and it's just more about how someone deals with the actually feeling that way about someone but never actively trying to pursue it. Um, and so from there, like, even this scene kind of gets your mind away from the fact that, oh, they're going to go anywhere with this, and you're more focused on, oh no, Kazuto is thanking her for the support that she gave him, and that her supporting him when he felt like he'd almost lost Asuna in the first episode, has now kind of it was something that he really needed, and it helped him kind of renew his eagerness to save her now that he has a way to actually do it through ALO. So it was just this moment that was really nice, and then he kind of says, I think you two would get on really well, and as you can tell that it's a struggle for her to say it, but in many ways she realizes that this is the way it has to be, that she does want to meet Asuna and stuff like that. So I even thought that, even though it's a very small scene in the grand scheme of the episode, was very nicely done. But yeah, from there we basically kind of hop straight into ALO. We focus on Kirito kind of in his room, has the nerve gear, and you think it's going to be this big thing about, is he going to put it on? Is he going to in any way struggle to get back into a virtual world? But I think the scene earlier on with the game kind of showed that no, that wasn't the case. And in the book, they actually have a line where he says that, no, I actually used the nerve gear a couple of times already before playing ALO, but it was more of just like using the kind of system features of virtual reality rather than playing a game. Sorry about that moth flying around. It's really annoying. But yeah, just the fact that he's not in any way afraid of that. That as big of an incident as SAO it is, and as big of an impact as has on his life and will remain in his life, he isn't afraid of going back into the virtual world. And I find that really interesting with his character, that when he looked at the nerve gear, they didn't go for the should I do this again, and it's more like, I need your help again, that this thing allowed me to save everyone in SAO. Now I need you again to save Asuna. So that was a cool moment. He jumps in, Link start. Character selection screen was something we didn't really get with SAO, so it was kind of cool to see the character selection thing. And of course he chooses Spriggan just because the starter armor is black, so that made sense for him. Not really knowing much details around the game. Like obviously he's the sort of guy who would usually have done a lot of research about, okay, this is the right class I want, it fits my playstyle. But no, he just goes, okay, this one. And obviously it kind of backfires on him a little bit because he doesn't have the skills you'd usually expect him to go for. Um, but yeah, then he's just kind of transferred into the game. He thinks he's going to start in one place, but something happens and he ends up basically out in the middle of the world, completely in the wrong territory. And he just checks his stats. He takes a while to get used to things. He talks about how like happy he is to be back in a virtual world and just like, so I'm back here again. And he's happy to be there. Like it isn't. They do address somewhat the kind of apprehensiveness about being back there, but immediately he just kind of stretches. Like he's got a sword. Checks out the wings, and it's just like cool. But I've got work to do. And so he checks his stats, and he's shocked to find he has all of these stats despite playing only starting this game. His equipment obviously is like starter equipment still, but his stats are for the most part all there except the stuff that is exclusive to the way Sword Art Online worked. And immediately, in a great moment, that when I first saw the episode, I was just like, I never expected this, but it makes complete sense. And that was obviously the first thing he thinks of is Yui's heart in my kind of storage inventory, because obviously in a couple of episodes ago he basically mentioned that, what are we going to do with Yui? And he said, okay, I'll transfer her kind of information onto my nerve gear, and so it makes sense that she's there. Pulls her out and activates her, and we meet Yui again. And I think this is a great decision for the overall arc, that it isn't just Kirito trying to be the hero, that there is this family dynamic set up, and that Kirito's not just doing this for himself and just to save Asuna. He's doing it because also Yui kind of wants her mother back as well. And they both want that. And so it makes complete sense as well in just the fact that Yui obviously takes the form of a navigation pixie in the game and is giving him information about the map. And for someone who's completely new to this game, it makes sense. You are seeing Kirito in a game where he's not crazy knowledgeable about. He's crazy skilled, but he's not very knowledgeable about this game. So we're learning with him in this game, which is completely different to SAO, where he was the most knowledgeable player in the game, basically. Yeah, there's just a nice kind of conversation there, as kind of you just get the emotional reunion, and you can see the impact that Yui had on him, and how happy he is to see her, how he immediately jumped to, oh, all my items are here, Yui. It was just a nice moment. And so from there, like, it's just getting used to the game. It was just a nice kind of moment where she just says, you should probably delete all your items, because in case like the admins come after you or something like that. And he has to delete all of his items and stuff like that. I think if you look at the translations for what all the items are, like, he is deleting all of his favorite equipment, like the Code of Midnight and stuff like that, the Blackworm Code or whatever it's called. So really tough decision for him to make, but he has to do it to save Asuna. And then of course the flying scene, that's a big one. And again, I thought it was, all things considering, pretty cool the way they went about explaining it, and that just, okay, new players have the controller that they kind of bring up and they can fly using that. It's kind of motion assisted, move it forward, back, left, right. Takes a bit of getting used to. There's a limit to how high you can fly, which links into the explanation for where the picture of Asuna came from, in that was people testing the limits of the game, and that was the highest they could get, and how being free to fly as much as you want in this game is like the biggest thing. That's the ultimate reward in this game that everyone wants. That the thing people stay for in this game, in a virtual reality game, is that you can't fly in real life, but you can fly in the game. So of course you want to fly everywhere and just have unlimited flight. So it makes sense as the best reward in the entire game. And yeah, so, and then we just kind of cut away from Kirito and meet this new character in the game, Leafa and her friend Rekon. And they're just flying. They mentioned they're sylphs. They've got to get back to sylph territory, and they're attacked by the salamanders. Green versus red, basically, in terms of the different fairy colors. And we just have this fight happen. We don't know who she is just yet. Obviously, we later find out this is Sugaha's character in the game. She did hint that she was doing something that Kirito would be interested in earlier on, and that was playing the game, but she didn't tell him. And it inadvertently reveals the answer to why Kirito's location data was kind of corrupted and why he ends up right next to Lifa, because the book basically says that because two systems of the game basically were being played like right next to each other, that they're in the same house, they're just in like opposing rooms, that she was playing first, obviously she was right in the middle of something, whereas Kirito's just starting the game. So when he entered the game, he basically enters into the same kind of instance of the game as she is in, so that's why he ends up next to her basically. So I thought that was a pretty cool explanation for why he is in such an odd position in the game, allowing him to have this big moment at the end of the episode. So, yeah, that leads to the final action scene. We get to see some air combat, which was something we didn't see in Sword Art Online at all. Just the idea of like being able to stop in midair and fight and magic. Well, definitely, I think I like the sword play more than the magic stuff. It was still cool to see a little bit of magic, like they have to avoid it in the air, while also there is some nice sword play. And the one hint that Lifa right now is Sugaha is the fact that her sword stance, which they make a big deal about, is the same as her kendo style. That's why she is actually a really powerful fighter in this game, because it's a game where your natural abilities help you in the game more so than just leveling up crazy amounts. Which is why Kirito is actually really good in the game, because he has crazy amazing reaction times and is actually really quick. Even if he's maybe not the strongest, but he carries his stats over from Sword Art Online, so he is very strong. Um, and yeah, from here we just get, okay, Rekon gets kind of killed, but again, this is just a normal game, so that's not a horrible thing to happen. Um, Lifa gets knocked out of the sky. She's about to be basically killed by three people. Kirito arrives and just, in the most just undignified way to enter a battle, just face first, face planting into the ground. And again, like even though he's new to this game, hasn't used the combat system at all in the game, he still has this confident swagger about him the second he enters a battle, and that he knows he can do work here, and he's just super confident, just like, do you mind if I kind of test my skills out and like help in here? And she's just like, okay. And then they see, okay, he's just wearing starter equipment, this is going to be super easy. And then he takes a sword out, does the stance that Leafa doesn't quite recognize, but is kind of like, this is odd. And then she's obviously weary about him as well, like, what's he doing? And then he just plants his foot down and he disappears. And then next of all, one guy's dead, and he just turns around and it's just like, who's next? And it's just like, yes, the Black Swordsman is back. It's a really cool scene that you were kind of worried, like, are his skills going to be good in this game? And then straight away this scene is just like, nope, he's still got it. This is going to be another fun journey with Kirito being awesome. So it was just a really it was a really just epic kind of way to end the episode. Just Kirito being awesome, but also like, who's Alifa? And the reveal about that, I think we get it next episode, is definitely interesting. Like, you kind of don't expect it just yet, but it makes complete sense actually. So, yeah, as I said, an episode packed full of interesting moments, whether it be kind of old characters returning, maybe with Aegel just for like a scene or two, or Yui being part of the kind of main plot going forward. She's there with her father, wanted to get Asuna back, the introduction of Lifa, but most of all, I think just getting to know the game. And as much as it's different to Sword Art Online, and I think most people do prefer the just standard sword style, less magic, less flying, it is still cool and different to see the kind of the way they animate the flight, animate the magic, and how different the fights actually can be here. And obviously, it comes to a culmination with stuff like Kirito versus Eugene in like a couple of episodes' time, which is actually a really good fight. But we'll get to that as we go through the episodes. But other than that, that's basically the review of the episode. I think this arc starts off really well. Definitely, I think there are like moments as we go on that maybe aren't the best, but I think it just starts off really well, getting the plot into place, what all the characters are about, their emotional character arcs and stuff like that into play. So I really don't have much of a problem at all with the start of this arc. It's actually really good stuff right now. So yeah, we'll have the next review tomorrow for episode 17. But other than that, that's been the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.